Hey guys, it's Kevin again. If you guys are wondering why I am in a different quality, a different setting, in short, I've been having a lot of technical problems with my laptop, so unfortunately for the time being, you're probably going to get some lesser quality videos. What I mean by that, they're not going to be edited, they're not going to have my intro and such. Like I said, just having a lot of problems with my computer right now. This is probably the most inconvenient time for this to happen, but unfortunately, just got to deal with it for the time being. But either way, guys, this is going to be another movie review, and this movie reviewing, this is not really a movie that I was that excited to see. I honestly didn't have too much, yeah, I really wasn't looking forward to this movie all that much, honestly, but I figured I would, in fact, check it out, and that is none other than Richard Linklater's new film, Last Flag Flying, and what this film is essentially about is we center on our main character, Doc, and it takes place in 2003, and recently, he meets up with this guy, Sal, played by Bryan Cranston, who he served with in Vietnam, and after introducing himself, he basically finds out that, you know, his wife has recently passed away, and the purpose of his trip, you know, he tracks down his other friends, we realize the purpose of his trip was actually to ask his friend to help him retrieve and bury his son, and maybe get some context into what actually happened there, and, you know, Larry, he's been recently killed in Iraq, so the rest of the film is essentially Doc, him trying to get over his son's death, but also Cranston and Fishburne trying to help him cope with it, and that's really all I'm going to say. So, like I said, this movie in general, I didn't really have much, you know, I just didn't really care that much about. It wasn't something that I really was looking forward to all that much. And it's unfortunate because it does have a lot of people that I really do love. It's got a great cast. It's got Richard Linklater. But the trailer just made it look really boring, honestly. It looked very Oscar baity. It looked like a film that was kind of just made just to give these three Oscars. And it didn't really look like a film that was going to do much of anything for me. And yeah, that's kind of what this is. Last Flag Flying, while not at all a bad film, it's just not really that particularly interesting. It's not anything that I really would recommend. It's definitely the weakest film I've seen from Linklater by far, but we're just getting into it now, starting off with the cast, and right off the bat, I will definitely say, that is one of the things that I actually really was looking forward to here. The cast here, everyone I think gives really great performances. The cast here definitely isn't the problem. I do think everyone was really great. Steve Carrell is absolutely the standout here. His character of Doc Shepard is honestly really tragic. You really do feel for him in the film. You know, he's lost his son, and you can tell that he's going through this really terrible tragedy. You know, he's trying to do what he can to move past it, but, I mean, how do you move past something like that? There's a lot of regret in him. He's, you know, he didn't want his son to go off to the Marines, and now he's kind of wishing that he didn't, so you can tell that he's kind of taking the blame for it, and he really does an incredible job. He perfectly transformed himself into this role. I really love what Carrell did here. He was absolutely fantastic in this movie. He continues to show why he is such a amazing actor, especially since Foxcatcher. I mean, he really has been impressing everyone lately, and this is another fantastic performance from Carrell. He definitely does a great job here. Bryan Cranston's movie, I did think he was good, but I'm going to be honest with you, this is one of those roles where I really thought anyone could have played this character. Cranston does a good job. He's just not really given a lot to do, and it's unfortunate because Cranston is such a talented actor. You'd think they would give him a very big role, but he doesn't really have a ton to do in this movie. He's got a lot of monologues. A lot of his scenes consist of him just eating and drinking things, and like I said, not too compelling of a character in general, so I don't really have too much to say about him. He was good. I did really like his character. I did think he did a good job in the film, but there just isn't really much to say in regards to his character in general. Laurence Fishburne in this movie, I thought, again, was also really good. I did think he did a really good job here. He is the pastor, and he's got this whole arc where he actually became religious after Vietnam, and he's very much changed because of that, but overall, I thought the cast here was pretty good. Cicely Tyson has a really nice supporting role. The cast here is definitely not the problem. I think the cast in general, you know, if I were to grade this movie based on the cast, this movie would be fantastic. I mean, everyone really does give a really good performance. The problem is the directing and the writing, which I'm going to say right off the bat. The directing, I think, is the biggest problem because this just doesn't feel like a Richard Linklater film. It doesn't have the same amount of passion and heart and, really just the care that I think some of his other films really do have. I mean, he's someone who's known for a lot of coming-of-age narratives and a lot of very well constructed stories, and the tone here, it's just kind of jumbled. There are moments where it is really fun and you're supposed to laugh, and then there are moments where it's really, it gets very dramatic, and I'm not saying those two tones do clash, because they do work very well together. But I am saying that I do think some of the humor really did fall flat. I wasn't really laughing a lot in this movie. The dramatic stuff definitely does work quite well, and that's mainly because of the actors. I do think there was definitely some really well done dramatic scenes here, but just the tone in general, it didn't feel like a Richard Linklater film. It felt like a very standard film, and I don't know, I feel like Richard Linklater, he just, his heart wasn't in it. I don't know if that's the case, but to me, it just seemed like his heart was not in this film like it was with some of the other films he's done. The screenplay here, I actually really did enjoy for the most part. I did think there was definitely some good writing in here. The story in general is definitely interesting. You know, I did think the main story was good, but the biggest problem with this movie easily, is that the story, it's just not something that warrants an entire film. I mean, yes, the movie makes you think that it is about Doc getting over the death of his son, and that is a big part of it. But it's just not really all that interesting, honestly, and it's mainly because a lot of this movie focuses on Cranston and Fishburne trying to help Doc cope, and their characters just aren't all that interesting, especially Cranston's. He's just a very one-note type character. Again, I really feel like anyone could have played this role, and it just didn't really work out for me, unfortunately. I just didn't really care about either of their characters. I thought, again, they both did fine, but their characters, I just didn't really care all that much about, and I really just wanted to see more from Doc. That story is so well handled. There's so much pathos put into that story, and it's just not really shown a lot. It shows a lot more of these two just hanging out, and again, they work well together, and they're fun to watch. It's hard to take your eyes off the screen because of how good of actors they are, but when really thinking about it, I'm not really gonna remember their characters. I'm not really gonna remember any significant scenes from them because it just didn't really do anything for me in terms of that. So, like I said, the writing here I really wasn't a huge fan of. I did think that the writing was honestly quite boring at times, and it really did feel like something was lacking. Not so much with Fishburne's character, because Fishburne does have something. Cranston has, like, nothing. I mean, he really doesn't have too much of a character, honestly. He's not really doing too much in this movie, and, I wish they could have done more. I really do. I do like what this movie has to say about soldiers and, you know, them going off to war and things like that. I do think it's well done, but again, it just didn't feel like Linklater wanted to go as far as he could have. Like, it just felt very safe. It didn't feel as risky or as, I think, complete as some of his other films have, and I think that definitely was a problem here. It just felt a little too safe, and I think that really is my biggest problem when it comes to the screenplay. Keep in mind, Richard Linklater is not the only person who did the screenplay. Someone else did it, and it's very evident. It doesn't feel like a Richard Linklater screenplay. It does have the feel of, you know, this very much feels like life, and we kind of just creep in on people having conversations. It's similar to Boyhood in that way, but other than that, again, it doesn't feel like a Richard Linklater film to me. The cinematography here is fine. I really have no complaints with it. I think the cinematography here definitely is really great. The score I definitely enjoyed, and like I said, the editing to this movie, it's way too long. The movie is over 2 hours, and I honestly felt most of it. There weren't too many scenes where I didn't feel the length. There were some scenes in this movie that I honestly did really enjoy. Cicely Tyson's especially is a highlight. I mean, anything you put Cicely Tyson in, she's fantastic in, but especially in this film, her scene definitely is a real highlight. It comes in at a very good point in the film. It's actually very emotional. The way it ties into the main narrative as well is very well done. There's another sort of side story going on with this other soldier that was killed, and her scene, like I said, is honestly really heartbreaking and really, again, gives a lot of context to what ends up happening to these soldiers while in PTSD. But like I said, guys, Last Flag Flying just didn't really do much of anything for me. I just didn't really care that much about this movie. Again, Steve Carrell, fantastic. Really loved his character. I wanted to see a lot more of him. I wanted to see more of him dealing with this death, and I just didn't feel they went as in-depth as they could have. It just felt very safe. It felt very much like they were holding back, and it just didn't work as well as I think it really could have, unfortunately. Again, it's not at all a bad movie. It is definitely a well put together film for sure. I think Richard Linklater did do a good job with it. It just doesn't feel like a Richard Linklater film altogether. It really does feel like something is missing in that way. And I am over going to give Last Flag Flying overall a C. But anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Last Flag Flying. Let me know what you guys saw this movie overall, left your thoughts. And again, I am sorry for the more low-quality videos, but again, I just got to do what I got to do at this point. I don't really have, I don't really have another option here. I don't know when my computer's going to come back, but we'll just have to see the way that does turn out. But let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall, left your thoughts in it. I mean, I guess, if you're a fan of Richard Linklater, I guess check it out, but just don't expect it to be on the level of, say, Boyhood or even something like Dazed and Confused, because it's just not that. It's something completely different altogether, and I give him props for trying to do something different, but he's one of those directors that has a specific style to him, and it really did feel lost here, unfortunately. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.